I'll never forget my 34th birthday. It wasn't just a lavish party in New York, it was a turning point that marked an irreparable crack in my heart. That night, I lost the illusion I'd clung to my whole life, the belief that if I tried hard enough, my family would finally see and love me. Instead, what I got was envy, contempt, and a cocktail thrown in my face, red as blood. I'm Hannah Miller, Vice President of Client Relations at a major media company in Manhattan. At 34, I owned a Hudson Riverview apartment, a dream sports car, and a career most people my age would struggle a lifetime to achieve. I built it all from scratch, relying on no one but myself. Yet deep down, I was still that little girl, yearning for a proud glance from my mother, a compliment from my sister, or just a warm smile from my niece. That's why I decided to make my 34th birthday different. I reserved a private table at Le Jardin, one of New York's most prestigious restaurants, where securing a spot requires booking 3 months in advance. I chose a cream-colored Stella McCartney dress, adorned with sparkling crystals, worth $3,000, enough to support an average family for months. To me, it wasn't just a dress. It was a symbol of my effort, of late nights working until 3 a.m., of every hard-earned step up the ladder. I wore it to tell myself, Hannah, you've finally made it. That evening, my close friends arrived early, bringing carefully wrapped gifts and genuine smiles. They snapped photos with me, raised glasses in toasts, and said I looked like I stepped out of a fashion magazine. My heart warmed, but as I glanced at my watch, it sank. My family hadn't shown up. Near 8 p.m., as the second course was served, my mother, Linda, my sister, Melissa, and my niece, Chloe, finally appeared. They strolled in casually, as if I should be grateful they bothered to come. Linda wore an outdated dress, her eyes betraying exhaustion. Melissa looked visibly annoyed, like she'd been forced to be there. Chloe, 17, wore a skimpy dress, chewing gum and glued to her phone. I hoped for a hug, a happy birthday, but all I got was my mother's offhand remark. Traffic was awful. The party went on, but the bitter contrast was palpable. My friends chatted lively, sharing memories and praising my hard work and success. Meanwhile, my family sat silently, offering only occasional bland comments. When my friend Daniel asked Chloe about school and her passion for dance, she shrugged. Who knows? Not everyone can afford college. I took a deep breath, determined to keep things positive. Smiling, I raised my glass and said, Actually, since Chloe was born, I've been saving a small fund for her college. Whatever she chooses to study, she'll have a good start. I expected a bright look from my niece, or at least a thank you. Instead, Melissa's face darkened, her eyes flashing. Oh, so you're rich enough to hide a college fund while I'm struggling to pay rent every month? Linda frowned. You never told me about this. Your sister and I have been scraping by, and you're secretly stashing money? I was stunned. They didn't see the love in my gesture, only an accusation, a display they resented. The air grew heavy. Chloe gripped her non-alcoholic cocktail, her eyes filled with inexplicable hostility. Then, suddenly, she stood. You want to know what I think? She hissed through clenched teeth. Before I could react, she flung the red drink at me. The icy liquid soaked into the silk, spreading like blood, staining the dress I'd cherished. I froze. Gasps and clinking dishes fell silent as every eye in the room turned to me. Then Chloe smirked, saying words that still pierce my heart. Now you look as cheap as you really are. My friends were shocked. Daniel started to stand, but I motioned him to stop. In that moment, I had no tears, only a numbing pain. I looked to my mother, hoping she'd scold her granddaughter. Instead, Linda put a hand on Chloe's shoulder, soothing her. She's young, don't take it personally. Melissa smirked, half mocking, half gleeful. I sat motionless, letting the stains spread across my dress. Inside, I heard the shattering of a mirror, the illusion that my success would earn my family's respect. As the guests left, I stayed, forcing smiles for my friends, but I knew a new chapter was about to begin, one of confrontation and choice. If you've ever poured everything into gaining your family's approval, only to face indifference or hurt, you might understand my pain. That birthday wasn't just an incident, it was the moment I realized my worth couldn't depend on others' eyes. If you have a similar story, please share it in the comments below. You might wonder, how could a successful woman like me, with a career and financial stability, let her family disrespect and trample her like that? The answer lies in my childhood, when unfairness seeped into every crack of our suburban home, and I grew used to it as if it were normal. I grew up in a small blue house in suburban New Jersey. My father died early in a work accident, leaving my mother, Linda, to raise my sister and me alone. She was resilient but blatantly biased. I felt it even as a child, though I didn't dare name it. I was the studious one, loving books and tackling tough math problems. I earned straight A's and teachers' praise. Meanwhile, Melissa frequently got in trouble, skipping class, missing assignments, or causing drama. Yet oddly, every time my mother would sigh, hug Melissa and say, "She's fragile, she needs more love." When I brought home awards, Mom would glance at them and say, "Good, but don't get cocky." I'll never forget one high school moment. I was chosen to represent my school in a state speech competition. I prepared for weeks, hoping Mom would come cheer me on. But that day, she took Melissa shopping because she was feeling down and needed a break. I stood on stage, scanning the audience, seeing other families cheering. The seat meant for my mother was empty. I won, but my joy was crushed by a hollow void. As an adult, the gap widened. I earned a full scholarship to college, graduated with honors, and landed a job in New York. Melissa, meanwhile, dropped out, tried part-time jobs, and ended up back with Mom. I hoped our differences would make Mom proud of me, but no. In her eyes, Melissa had a good heart despite her failures, while I was successful but selfish. Things shifted when Melissa's daughter Chloe was born. The family treated her like a treasure, and I became an unwilling ATM. At first, I gave willingly. With Dad gone and Mom having struggled to raise us, I felt it was my duty to help. I sent money for Melissa's baby formula, hospital bills, Chloe's preschool fees. I bought Mom a used car for easier travel. I didn't mind, believing one day they'd see I did it out of love. But my help turned into an obligation. "Hannah, we're late on rent this month. Can you send money?" "Hannah, Chloe needs a new dress for her performance. The old one's out of style." "Hannah, the doctor says Mom needs more tests. Can you cover it?" The requests piled up, turning me into an endless provider. I remember buying Chloe her first car at 16, a safe, practical sedan, registered in my name for insurance. I handed her the keys with a smile. "Use this until you graduate, okay?" But she frowned. "You mean it's just temporary? Why can't I own it?" I forced a laugh, but it stung. My friends often shook their heads. "Hannah, you're too kind. They don't appreciate it." But I told myself, they're my family. They'll see. They'll be proud. That illusion grew like a crack waiting to burst. And it shattered on my 34th birthday. That night, when Chloe threw the cocktail at me, my childhood memories flooded back. Mom leaving me alone on stage, the times I sent money without a thank you, Melissa calling me selfish when I refused help. That red drink didn't just ruin a $3,000 dress, it stained the truth I'd denied for years. To them, I was never good enough, never worthy of respect. Back at my apartment, I stripped off the dress and threw it in the bathtub. The red stains spread like blood, like my crushed patience. I looked in the mirror, my face pale but my eyes burning with new resolve. I whispered to myself, "Enough, Hannah. From today, everything changes." What do you think of my story? If it resonates and you want me to continue, comment why. If it doesn't quite grab you, be honest and comment N. Your feedback will tell me if I'm reaching your heart. Do you believe one night can turn your entire worldview upside down? For me, that night was a dividing line. From someone who always endured, always deluded herself that family would warm her heart, I became a woman who dared to set boundaries, to say enough. It began in my apartment as New York's lights glowed outside, and I faced the truth in silence. I sat at my desk, hands trembling as I opened my laptop. The screen's blue light illuminated my tired face. I logged into my bank account, numbers flashing one by one. I scrolled through years of transfers to Melissa, medical bills for mom, rent payments, even vacation plane tickets Melissa claimed were just to unwind. Over $80,000 in 5 years. The cold figure was like a slap. I sat still, recalling every time I hit send, thinking I was doing the right thing. In reality, I'd fed their dependents, turning myself into their bottomless resource. My phone buzzed, a social media notification. A photo of me, dress stained red, appeared with Chloe's caption, "When rich auntie needs a lesson. Hashtag sorry, not sorry, had cheap as reality." Below, Melissa had left a crying, laughing emoji. I froze. It wasn't just the public humiliation. It was my own sister's glee. Something in me went still, not with rage, but with absolute clarity. There was no going back. I picked up the phone and called my bank. A professional female voice answered, "How can I assist you?" I took a deep breath. "I want to cancel the supplementary card on my credit account. The cardholder's name is Melissa Miller." "Of course, ma'am. Let me verify the details." As the process unfolded, the agent's final words, "No one but you can use this card now," made me exhale, as if a weight lifted from my chest. One call, one decision, and I'd reclaimed control of my life. But I wasn't done. The sedan I'd bought for Chloe 2 years ago sat in her school's parking lot. I'd paid for it, the insurance, even monthly gas. Now, I wanted it back. Not just for the money, but for principle. I called a towing company. The man asked, "The car's in your name, right?" "Every document has my name," I replied. "No problem then, we'll pick it up tomorrow morning." I sent copies of the registration and insurance. After the call, I leaned back, eyes closed, picturing Chloe's shocked, angry face when she found the car gone. Part of me wavered. Is this too harsh? She's just a kid. But then I recalled her contemptuous glare as she threw the drink, her vicious caption. I whispered, "No, this is a consequence. She needs to learn." I didn't sleep that night. I opened folders, gathering evidence, receipts, bank statements, car documents, screenshots of Chloe's post. I organized them like I was preparing for court. And in a way, I was. My own personal trial, where I'd face my family not with patience, but with raw truth. By 4 a.m., I stopped. The clock ticked as I stood and walked to the window. The city never slept, but for the first time in years, I felt detached from its chaos. A strange mix of fear, relief, and resolve settled in me. I looked at the neatly stacked documents on my table and whispered, like a vow, "Tomorrow, I'm not the old Hannah anymore. I'm the one setting the rules, not following them." I knew this decision would spark a war. Melissa would rage, Chloe would scream, Mom would cry and guilt-trip me. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid of that prospect. Instead, my heart felt like a calm lake. I knew, no matter the storm, I wouldn't back down. I carefully placed the papers on my dining table, like a case file. Tomorrow, when they came, I'd flip through each page, pointing out every transaction, every piece of evidence. No more dodging, no more pleading, just the truth. The apartment's lights cast a glow on the papers. I sat, looked at them one last time, and smiled faintly. That night, I knew I'd crossed a threshold, a door to freedom. If you're moved by stories like mine and feel a connection, check out my previous videos on this channel. Have you ever steeled yourself to face your entire family like you're walking into a courtroom? I did. That night, my dining table felt like a witness stand. On it sat a tidy stack of papers, bank statements, receipts, car documents, even social media screenshots. I sat waiting, my heart beating slow but steady, like a drum signaling a battle with no retreat. A sharp knock came at the door. I opened it. Melissa stormed in first, her face flushed, voice already raised. "Are you insane, Hannah? Dragging me here midweek for what kind of stunt?" Chloe trailed behind, her eyes cold, arms crossed, radiating entitlement. Mom, Linda, came last, looking weary but clinging to her usual air of authority. I invited them to sit. "We need to talk." The air was thick, taut like a stretched string. Melissa plopped into a chair, arms crossed defiantly. Chloe slumped down reluctantly, glancing at the papers and rolling her eyes. Mom sat between them, like a referee, but her gaze already sided with them. I took a deep breath, pulled the stack toward me, and began. Over the past 5 years, I've spent over $80,000 on this family. Here are the statements, transfers, every receipt. I slid the papers toward them. Melissa glanced at them and laughed bitterly. So what? Families help each other? What's the big deal? I looked into her eyes, my voice calm but sharp. This isn't help, Melissa. This is exploitation. I've paid your debts, shopped for you, raised your daughter. I've become the family's living bank. And the worst part? Not one of you, neither you nor Mom, has ever said thank you. Chloe shot up, her voice shrill. What about the car? You can't take it back? It's mine. I turned the folder, pointing to the registration. That sedan is in my name. I paid for it, the insurance, even the gas. Chloe, you were borrowing it. I took it back because you turned it into a status symbol, not a tool to grow up. She froze, speechless for a moment, then snapped. You're heartless. Who treats their niece like that? I turned to Mom. As expected, she sighed and spoke. Hannah, you're going too far. Chloe's just a kid. Taking her car? Cutting your sister's credit card? What's next? Cutting off your family? A bitter pang rose in my throat, but I kept my voice steady. Mom, family isn't one-sided. I've given everything, only to get contempt in return. At my birthday, when Chloe threw that drink at me, what did you do? You held her hand, comforted her instead of defending me. You've made me a stranger in my own family. The room fell silent. I'd hit a truth they didn't want to hear. Melissa shot me a furious look. So what now? You want to cut us off completely? I clenched my fists, then said firmly, yes. From today, all financial support stops. No more credit card, no more transfers, no more car. But I looked at Chloe. The college fund I set up for you is still there, because that's not a favor. It's an investment in your future. Chloe looked up, eyes red but surprised. Melissa shouted, You're doing this to humiliate me? To prove you're better while I'm just a leech? I replied calmly, No, I'm doing this to free myself. And if you want to change, I hope this is a chance for you to stand on your own. The tension was suffocating. Mom stood, her voice trembling. You're disappointing me, Hannah. I never thought you'd be this cold to your own family. Her words stabbed my heart, but this time, I didn't retreat. I looked up. I'm not cold, Mom. I'm learning to protect myself. If I keep giving in, there'll be nothing left of me. Melissa shoved the papers off the table. Chloe yelled, I hate you! You're selfish! Then all three stormed out, leaving the room in disarray. I sat, taking a long breath. The door's slam echoed like a final bell. Alone in my apartment, I felt strangely light. For years, I'd feared this silence, feared being left behind, feared losing family. But now, that silence was the start of freedom. I bent down, picking up the scattered papers, stacking them neatly again. A firm voice inside me said, Hannah, you did the right thing. Some moments hit like a slap from fate, leaving no room for anger or ego. Only raw truth. The people we love aren't immortal. For me, that moment came on an autumn morning when my phone rang, announcing that Mom had collapsed in a suburban supermarket. I'd just left the office, heading to my usual cafe, when an unfamiliar number flashed on my screen. A panicked female voice said, Are you Linda Miller's daughter? She fainted in the supermarket. We've called an ambulance. She's being taken to St. Mary's Hospital. My body froze. My mind flashed to Mom collapsing on a cold tile floor, eyes closed. I rushed to the street, hailing a taxi to the hospital. When I arrived, Melissa and Chloe were in the hallway, faces pale. Melissa was biting her nails until they bled. Chloe, usually defiant, was teary, her shoulders trembling. I entered the ER. Mom lay on a bed, pale, an oxygen tube in her nose. My heart clenched. All the anger I'd bottled up vanished, replaced by a surging fear. What if I lose her now? The doctor approached with a chart. Linda had a sudden drop in blood pressure due to exhaustion and prolonged stress. She was brought in just in time. She needs rest, close monitoring, and stress reduction, or the risk of recurrence is high. I nodded, asking about treatment plans, diet, and whether she'd need a nurse. Melissa and Chloe stood silent, unsure how to react. I handled the admission, signed countless forms, and scheduled follow-up tests. When things settled, I turned to them. We can't keep living like this. If we all keep leaning on her or dumping everything on me, she'll only get worse. Melissa looked confused. What do you mean? I met her gaze. I'll hire a part-time nurse to help, but you and Chloe need to take turns caring for her. No more pushing it all on Mom or me. This is a family responsibility. Chloe stayed quiet. Melissa opened her mouth to argue but closed it, perhaps seeing my resolve. That evening, I sat by Mom's bed. She was awake, her eyes still dazed. I took her frail hand, the hand that once guided my first steps, fanned me on hot summer nights, now trembling weakly. Mom, I said softly, don't worry, I'll handle all the paperwork. But you have to let us take care of you. You can't keep carrying everything. Her eyes welled up, a tear rolling down her cheek. Her voice was hoarse. Hannah, I'm sorry. All my life I favored Melissa, thinking she was weak and needed me. I thought you were strong, that you didn't need me. I dismissed you. And only now, lying here, do I see you've always been the one holding us up. I choked up. For years, I'd craved her acknowledgement. And now it came in a cold hospital room. I squeezed her hand, tears falling as I forced a smile. Mom, family isn't just about taking, it's about sharing and giving too. I forgive you, but from now on, we all have to change. Otherwise, there'll be no family left to hold on to. She sobbed, and for the first time in years, I saw her as vulnerable as a child. That night, we sat in the hospital hallway. The silence was broken only by the steady beep of machines. Melissa spoke slowly. I didn't think it'd come to this. I'm scared of losing her. Chloe mumbled, I'm sorry, Aunt Hannah. I didn't know Grandma was this weak. I looked at them, a strange feeling rising, not triumph or satisfaction, but relief mixed with hope. Maybe this crisis would open a new path. The next day, I hired a part-time nurse and made a schedule. Mornings, Melissa handled breakfast and blood pressure checks. Afternoons, Chloe stayed, talking or reading to Mom. I covered meds, appointments, and costs. I printed the schedule and taped it by Mom's bed. No one skips out, I said. This is our commitment to Mom and ourselves. For the first time, Melissa nodded without arguing. Chloe stayed silent but didn't resist. When Mom was discharged, we brought her home. The once noisy suburban house was now calm. I turned the living room into a rest area for her, with a recliner and a blood pressure monitor. The nurse taught us how to care for her. That first night back, as Mom slept, I stepped onto the porch. Melissa stood there quietly, her eyes tired but softer. She whispered, Hannah, thank you. Without you, I don't know what would have happened. I nodded. There's still a lot to fix. But inside, a small door had opened. They say 6 months can change a person. For me, it changed a family. If my 34th birthday was the crack that exposed our brokenness, my 35th became the test of whether we could piece it back together. I returned to Mom's suburban house on a crisp spring afternoon. The home that once felt stifling now greeted me with the faint scent of apple pie from the kitchen. Gone were the arguments and sullen silences, replaced by a rare calm. The dining table was set with an old but neatly pressed tablecloth. No flickering candles or gourmet dishes, just a simple meal: roasted chicken, salad, vegetable soup, and a small bakery cake. That simplicity warmed my heart. Chloe approached first, wearing her work uniform from a part-time job. Her hands trembled as she handed me a small, clumsily wrapped gift. Aunt Hannah, I bought this with my first paycheck. It's not much, but I want you to have it. I opened it, a simple light blue silk scarf, not a luxury brand, but when I touched it, I felt its sincerity. Chloe bit her lip, eyes teary. I'm sorry for what I did last year. I was stupid, thinking hurting you would make me feel better. But working now, I see how hard it is to earn $1. I promise I'll change. I looked into her eyes. Gone was the old arrogance, replaced by a young woman learning to grow. I nodded, draping the scarf around my neck. I treasure this, Chloe. Not for its value, but for your heart. I believe in you." She burst into tears, hugging me tightly. For the first time, her embrace felt truly warm. Melissa came next, wearing a crisp white shirt, looking neater than the disheveled sister I'd known. "Hannah," she sighed, her voice thick. "I got a steady job at a small office. I'm taking evening accounting classes. I know I've let my life drift too long while you kept pushing forward. I was jealous, thought you were lucky. But really, I made the wrong choices." I listened, emotions swirling. Melissa, the sister who once gloated at my humiliation, now stood before me with humility. "I want to thank you," she continued. "Without last year's wake-up call, without you cutting us off, I'd never have changed. I hated you then, but now I see it was what I needed." I placed a hand on her shoulder. "I didn't want to bring you down. I wanted you to stand on your own, and I believe you can." Her eyes lit up, showing a resolve I hadn't seen in years. "Finally, Mom." Linda emerged from the kitchen, her face etched with time, but her eyes warmer than ever. She set the cake before me, lighting 35 small candles. "I've thought a lot," she said, her voice trembling. "All my life I was wrong to you, Hannah. I favored Melissa, thinking she needed me more. I thought you were strong, that you didn't need care. But I didn't see. You needed love, pride too. I'm sorry for letting you bear it alone." I looked at her, my eyes blurring. I'd waited years for these words, and now they came in a simple evening. "I'm proud of you," she continued, "for all you've done, not just for us, but for yourself. You taught me that love isn't indulgence. It's knowing when to stop, when to let others grow." I stood, wrapping my arms around her. In that moment, every hurt seemed to melt away. We sat around the table. No one spoke much, just small stories about Melissa's new job, Chloe's shifts, Mom's exercise classes. I listened, seeing real change. They were learning responsibility. When it was time to blow out the candles, Mom stood, raising her glass. "To my daughter's birthday. Hannah, thank you for being brave enough to say no, for saving this family from dependence. I'm proud of you." The clink of glasses rang out. I closed my eyes, blew out the candles. In my heart, I knew I'd entered a new age, not just for me, but for our family, an age of rebirth. That night, back in my city apartment, I sat by the window. New York's lights still blazed, an endless stream. I smiled, recalling the hospital moment, Mom's apology, Chloe's tears, Melissa's change. I realized, sometimes to save a family, you have to say no. Compassion isn't enduring endlessly, it's giving others a chance to grow. I chose the hard path, but it gave me a new family, not perfect, but real. Maybe my story shows that family isn't just blood, it's respect, responsibility, and sharing. I endured, carried burdens, and clung to the illusion that sacrifice would earn love and pride. But the truth taught me, giving endlessly risks losing yourself. Only by saying no, setting boundaries, did I give my family a chance to change, to grow, to love rightly. 6 months after that crisis, we weren't the same people. I saw my niece value money, my sister stand on her own, my mother admit fault and love fairly. And me, I finally found peace, freedom. If you've been through something similar, share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to join me in future stories. Maybe through them, you'll find the strength to change your own life.